Guys, we are back and we are making our basic tomato sauce. Now I have many different ways of making tomato sauce, but this is the basic way. And we are going to start with some oil in our pot here. It's a nice drizzle. Okay, and here we have a can of tomato paste. To use or not to use is the question with tomato paste, but I'll tell you what my theory is. When I'm making a pot of sauce that doesn't contain meat and I like it just al fresco, I don't use tomato paste. A lot of times when I'm making it for my family, I don't use tomato paste. But I do use tomato paste when I have company, when I'm cooking for large crowds, and particularly when I have meatballs, because what I find tomato paste does is tomato paste adds depth and richness to your sauce, and because it does that, it coats the meatballs nicer. So if you want your meatballs to be nicely coated with sauce and have the sauce stick nicely to your meatballs and pasta for that matter, you are going to want to use tomato paste. And here I have a jar of my homemade tomatoes, but I'm also using a can of store-bought tomatoes. And the reason why I'm mixing it is because we are almost into April, and I like to mix it so that I can stretch out my homemade stash. If you do not have homemade tomatoes, you're probably not watching this video. If you do, because you know how to make your sauce, you can just have 2 cans of store-bought tomatoes. In that case, you're going to buy whole tomatoes and crush them yourself. I do not like to use the already crushed tomatoes. They're just, I don't know if there's stuff added to it or not. I just don't like that as a result of my in making tomato sauce. So 2 cans of whole tomatoes, preferably San Marzano plum tomatoes, high quality. Don't chimp out. Don't use a no-name stuff. Don't use Unigo. High quality. Try to get the ones from Italy and crush them yourselves in a blender, food processor, by hand, whatever you like. I have some chopped onion here, teaspoon of garlic, salt, and my seasoning, my Italian seasoning here, which is a mixture of parsley, oregano, and basil. And here, guys, is a picture just to show you what the meatballs look like after they've been baked. So these baked for 7 minutes on 400, and this is what they look like. And you can see that there's some oil that's been rendered out of the meat, which is good. And they're gonna cool and they're gonna be ready for the freezer. Now for this video, I am putting my meatballs in raw. I explained in my meatball video that that's the way we prefer them for home. And I'm just gonna go ahead and start with the sauce. On medium-high. You're gonna add your tomato, oh my goodness. You're gonna add your onion. You're gonna want to get that onion going before you add your garlic. Had to switch angles because the sun today, I was getting quite the glare. So this isn't my super duper big burner, so it might take a few seconds here. And you want to get the onions cooking nicely. You don't want to brown them too much. You don't want them to burn. They won't taste very good if they burn. You just want them fragrant and translucent before we add our garlic, and then we are going to add our tomato paste. our cooking oil ahead. We're just going to go ahead and add our paste now. This step is not missed if you're from southern Italy. You do not want to add paste without doing this method. And you don't want to burn, so be careful and watch it. Now this was a can of tomato paste, so what I would have done is filled my can up with water, so I'm just going to use some water. Do the good old-fashioned swish. Every last bit, no waste. So that's been sauteing for a minute. Again, you don't want to burn that. Watch it. Once you've kind of scraped up the bits on the bottom, your sauce will look like this. Okay, that's when you're going to go ahead and add your tomatoes. Now this is the can. Again, high quality. We don't want Unico, sorry Unico, don't mean to offend anyone, but we don't want cheap tomatoes or anything that's really not processed in Italy, because they use the finest of tomatoes in Italy, and I'm just really particular when I'm making my sauce. If you want a good sauce, guys, be fussy. It is worth the extra penny, let me tell you. When people ask why they can't make my sauce, I'm just going to swish the tomato here so there's no waste. When people say they can't make my tomato sauce, the first thing I say is, listen, what are you using? What is the quality of your tomato? Because that is everything. I can give you directions until the cows come home. It's all in your tomatoes, guys, which is why I do my own. So we're going to keep this on high heat, and we're going to give a good generous sprinkle of salt and a good generous sprinkle of my herbs. That is it. How easy is that? There is nothing complicated about Italian cooking, let me tell you. To each his own. Some people do not like to put onion, but they'll put garlic. Some will put garlic, and some will put onion and not garlic. To each his own, but you have to have at least one, guys. You have to have that flavor in there. So we're going to cover this and let it come to a boil. You can also put a little bit of black pepper in there. I'm not going to. I have my nice flavorful meatballs that will be going in here. So you're gonna let that come to a boil. And once it comes to a boil, you're gonna reduce the heat and let it cook a good half an hour, or just a slight boil, bubbly, not going crazy. You don't want to make a big mess on your stove. And what I like to do is I just like to open it up, vent it a little bit, and our method of doing that is like so. Okay, so let it come to a nice roaring boil, lower the heat to medium, vent it for a good half an hour. At that point, we're going to turn it to simmer and we're going to add our meatballs. So I'll see you back.